What she did. This is untuned, just with a catback.
Alright, so what we're doing here is discuss where this came out for the catback install. This is what the Corolla attack, and everybody likes to, discuss, is it beneficial, does it gain power, is there a reason to do it? So anytime we have an opportunity, we do it. So this car is delivered at bone stock 22 Charger red eye. All we did was take the factory catback off and throw it on. And we do two controlled pulls. One we start about 180 degrees on cooling temp, no chiller. What I have now is I turn the chiller on and let it idle get up to about 205 degrees and then do another pull. So that's what we have here. So the first pull here was the controlled one, so it's apples to apples. So red is equal to green. Next up, in about 2 minutes, I'm going to do with the chiller running for a few minutes and at full temp. So you can see already we lost a little bit of horsepower, and we also gained a little bit of torque, very minimal. One thing that's kind of interesting is the green line, very close, it actually made more boost by getting rid of the factory catback and going with the Borla. So we're going to see now will be apples to apples, and what I'm going to do is take the highest horsepower from each stock and then with the catback and then do a comparison. So should be good to go. Let me just reset my camera and then we'll be all set.
Also, you got it on. What you wearing, Jeremy? What you wearing? Woo! Look at that! My. Man, look at that. Bright. All right, let's see this. Look at this sucker. What's up, Jeff? How you doing? How's Mexico treating you? Take a look. Let's take a look. What we do. Look at that torque number, though. Woo!
All right, so probably can hear us a little bit better. So again, this is untuned. I am not in this in any way, shape, or form. So it looks like the, believe it or not, the heat-soaked one with the chiller in both applications is higher. So what I'm going to do now is we are just going to look at apples to apples. This is as much as you can get in regards to equal. So this is a heat soak car with the chiller running, and we can see, break it down here. So temperatures are almost identical, and you can see it actually started looking like it was going to make a little bit more. As you can see, the peak torque number bumped a little bit, and then what it did is cat over temp kicked in pretty aggressive like you saw before, but reality is that could just be the difference between 1 or 2 dyno pulls. So, anybody out there that wants to argue, here's the boost curve, so you can see. So heat soaked, we had about...
Remember, red is stock, blue is with the new Borla Attack.
So we did get a little drop in reduction of boost. So about just under ½ pound of boost down low, reduction, and then towards the top, we're seeing, what's it, 0.2, quarter pound of boost. So dropped it a little bit, not by a lot, but heat soaked. The result is there, as you can see. Now, it's one of those, I can tell you, on a red eye like this, if I were to get my tune into it, we're talking easily 40, 50, 60 horsepower, if not more, just by a tune. So maybe it would amplify there. But in the stock application, you can now say that a catback is not going to benefit you in any way, shape, or form.
Little torque jump, but
yeah, a little torque, but again,
besides that,
yeah, you get that, like I said, that just could be a variance from one dyno pull to the next. So
right.
Not really considering that anything great. It still has the CAD over temp, complete stock settings in place. So, like I said, combination, but as you can see, apples to apples. You know, sounds good though.
Yeah.
Sounds killer. So let's go ahead and get the shop up.
Yeah.
I'll get the office ready.
All right, let's see where we're at. All right, let's check out. Ayo, Mr. Shop Manager. Give me a little rundown. What's going on? What's going on in the shop?
This one, we're diagnosing an issue. Had some belt slippage, so figuring what that is.
Okay.
Over here, we've got the hub that we're replacing. Freeway, so we got this lifted up, get that ball rolling. Got a little couple fun projects. Got an engine build going on over here that's in the lift, so getting that one rolling. So
Waiting on.
stay busy right now.
Waiting on some parts, some stuff. You know, just time. Time is the thing. So we're finishing up him. He's like AO talked about. We're putting a new crank hub on him. His was slightly damaged, so just repair, making sure it's as safe as possible. Waiting on a header for the old Jeep up in the air. After that, it's buttoning her up, tuning back together. An old shop car sitting here with the wheels that I'm trying to buy off of Jeremy. If you know me, you know how badly I want these wheels. So just waiting on more parts to get the shop car back together, and then maybe a little something with that. Let's see where else we are. Ooh, here's a good one for y'all. Everyone loves turbos. Maybe not everyone, but I sure do. So here's our little TRX. Let's get up there. Let's see what's going on. Woo! Look at that. Isn't that pretty? This is getting, finalized. We're progressing on that. This is getting our true flex fuel. So we have been doing that for the past couple of days. The booster pump as well. So this one, a few more finishing touches, then she's ready to get going. So let's see where Jeremy's at. What's up, nerd? Blake. How rude. All right.
Let's see if we can leave it on this time.
Yeah.
Well, new phone.
Sorry about that last time. I did not mean to cut it off. Turbo Hemis are fun. Absolutely, Jeff. You would know of all people.
Perfect. Get your notebook.
My notebook.
Perfect. There we go. As you can see, we have clothes everywhere. Please get some orders in. My wife is very upset with the cluster we created.
Buy shirts.
Shirts. Hoodies.
Hoodies.
We'll have more variations coming.
You've seen it already. Both wearing it. It's warm. It's soft. It feels so nice.
All right.
Sleepwear, workwear, all of it. Buy it now.
So the discussion we thought we'd go over today is going to be in relation to a couple things. Octane of a motor, right? Compression, what does that play in the part of it as well? So, big difference between 9.5 1 compression and 10.9 compression from the 6.2 to the 392. So, really, I'm going to simplify this as much as I can without getting really into the technical side of things. And this will hopefully help, people understand why, we say 5.7s, respond to boost safer than a 392. Or why, when you're building your engine, what you kind of spec it for. So if you go back all the way to the pre-Eagle 5.7s, right, where they're in the 9s for their compression from the factory. You know,
I love
that's
them.
why it's not crazy to see 12, 13 pounds of boost on a stock motor. You would not run that on a 10 to 9 compression 392.
No.
So
Please.
the battle for performance of what we're trying to do is to defeat detonation. We do not want it. The episode of that is very violent, and that's what damages and breaks things. So both compression and octane help to fight that. So what we have is when we talk to customers, we talk about a window. So there's a window of safety when it comes to detonation. And the easiest way to look at it is as you raise octane, or as you raise compression, 10, 9 to 1, your window becomes a lot smaller. So this is where we can fall when it comes to timing, fueling, everything, temperatures. So our margin of error is about this big, right? So then you hear these guys with race motors and stuff. Oh, I'm running a race engine in my car, 11 to 1 compression, and even though they're using good fuels, you got a margin like this. It makes it more difficult. So now you lower the compression, right, and your margin now increases, right? So on the flip side of it, we have octane. Same thing. Octane, higher octane, allows the fuel to burn essentially slower is what it is, but again, not getting too technical, but the higher that octane number, the more resistance to detonation. We're now opening our window greater. This is why on 10, 9 to 1 compression motors, they want 91 as a minimum or more, right? Boosted applications, because the higher the octane, you're getting a greater window. So when you're speccing an engine and building it for boost or introducing boost, this is where that margin comes from. So again, E85, we had the discussion a few weeks ago. So E85 not only is higher octane, so now your window is bumped up over 100 depending on your concentration, but it has a cooling factor. Heat is a big, big battle when it comes to detonation. So cooling and octane, we now just have a window that's this big compared to pump gas where it's like this. This is why you see, without changing anything except your fuel, you can get away with more power, more timing, and lean on it a little bit because your window to battle detonation is that much bigger. So when we take a step back and assess it on a different type of builds, 5.7s have lower compression than a 392. So they have a bigger window, so they can get, they're a little more reliable. You have a 10, 9 to 1 compression, thin ringland, man, one episode of detonation and you're hurt.
Yeah.
So that's why when they designed, the Hellcat application and they basically were engineering it, they have 9.5 1 compression because they know they had boost, so they want to be able to balance that out, right?
They built that safety factor into it. Where the 382, it was only ever an NA motor, so they didn't care about having low compression. It was just built for a purpose, and
Right. So when you're speccing your engine, when you're building it even for 1,000, 1,050, 11, 1,400 horsepower, although yes, a higher compression motor, naturally will start off with more power. The way you counter that is just throw a little more boost at it, right? You can, obviously have a little more aggressive timing because your window is at it. And then the same thing, this window we're talking about, as you lean an air-fuel ratio out, as you add timing, your window becomes smaller. So the other thing, though, too, is, we say, retard timing, and that makes it safer. To a certain extent, and this is where a lot of people don't understand fully how that works. Too retardative timing actually introduces more heat into the exhaust, which then increases more heat around. As I said earlier, more heat makes you more prone to detonation. So I've seen a lot where people are like, just pull more timing out of it. Well, they got to understand what's starting to happen in these certain episodes with the heat that retarded timing will produce.
And there are things that doing that, people don't think about with the heat. That heat has to go somewhere, so your motor's getting hot, exhaust is getting hot. That leads to a lot of, other issues down the road, just based on all that heat.
Right. So sometimes the answer is not pulling timing out of it. There is a threshold or a point that you will reach, and why it's so important. So, again, Logan has a Magnum that it's a pre-Eagle 5.7. We've had 13 pounds of boost in that thing on pump and E85. He mixes between it, and zero issues. You know what I'm saying? But
obviously, we are able to push a little bit further with E85. Again, due to that octane, it gives us, it's safer.
Right.
So.
And but as an example, even on a stock bottom end 392, I'm not going to sit there and tell somebody that that I can run that, right? I'm not going to run 13 pounds of boost into the 392. You know what I mean? So, O'Reilly's trying to get in the door.
Yeah, it's
he'll find the other one.
Yeah.
But that's the reasons why, right? We're trying to battle detonation, and we're trying to make sure we avoid those episodes at all costs. And that is why it all comes down to what it is. The the one thing, you know, that I keep seeing is people are wanting to lean on, you know, and it's mainly on the Hellcat application where they're just trying to squeeze out another pound of boost on these stock motor setups, right? And you hear us all the time say, we want to stick to, you know, 15, maybe 16 pounds of boost when it comes to pump gas. Again, we're just have consciousness of that window, right? Again, you add boost without changing anything in the motor, and your window gets a lot smaller. So all that means is you got to be super conservative. You have to be super conscious and aware of what's going on. And on the dyno, sure, you know, you can dyno, you know, with 18 pounds of boost on pump gas, it's fine. It's controlled, temperature controlled. It's not a car that's driven on the street. So you got to be careful when, you know, like, you know, when you see, you know, red eyes, for example. People, you know, we do a 310 upper is the most aggressive.
Right.
We want to go on pump gas on a stock car. But, you know, people are throwing the ATI lowers on that, add 3 pounds of boost. Why do you want to add 3 pounds? That car you just saw, that's a bone stock red eye. It just made almost 16 pounds of boost. So you're telling me you want to try and make 18.5 pounds of boost?
Right, on just regular pump?
Right. You know, again, that window becomes like this. Sure, you can retard the timing to kind of counter it, but you're still on that fine edge where you get a cold day and you know, that dense air. You know,
especially on a car that's as valuable as a red eye, it's not worth to take, you know, a shortcut.
Right.
So.
And then, you know, the steps for increasing horsepower, right? So although it has 3 pounds of boost, right, which in theory could make an extra 90 horsepower, that gain is going to drop to where if you just had less boost and tuned it correctly with timing and fueling and everything, you might make the same, if not more power with less boost because your window is this much greater. You don't have to be so worried about what's going to happen at 18 pounds on pump gas if you know, that's the thing we're relying on too is the quality of gas from the pump. Right? Just because it has that octane there, you never know. It could be watered down. It could be an accident. I've seen it. I've seen it time and time again. So that's the one thing, you know, that we consider.
That depends. See the level.
We got a question about what is the safe level on boost compression 93. There's a lot more variables with that, you know, based on cam profile, head profile, displacement, so on and so forth. So generally what you'll find is, you know, we use the Hellcat platform. It's you know, very common and explored. 9.5 1 compression with our heads cam setup. We try to target 15, at most 16 pounds of boost for a 93 pump gas car. Because as the boost goes up, your window really starts to shrink, right? The same thing, you know, Octane is dependent. You know, I'm not really a big fan of running 16 pounds of boost on 91. I'm more comfortable with 93. So, again, it all depends on that. And remember, going back to boost in comparison, boost is a measurement of restriction. It's not anything other than that. So, you know, boost out of an 88 mil turbo is going to be different than a 70 mil turbo, which is going to be different than a 3-liter Whipple compared to a 2300 Maggie. So that's why we have to use that gauge of that 15, 16 pounds, regardless of what the power adder is, because that's showing us the engine and how it's working based on the compression.
And you know, there are other factors that go into that boost. It's not just, you know, what way you have the boost controller, you know, set to. It's heads, cam, you know, header, so, stuff like that. That all increases it.
Right. And as an example, you know, a lot of the imports and stuff, they'll come in at 8.5 1 compression. So you see them running 20, 24 pounds of boost on pump gas. Again, as that compression goes down, you know, the capability of the boost to make up for it goes up in like-minded situations. Fuel type is huge as well, like you said, pump gas being the culprit there. So, you know, as you go up, for example, on a stock 392, bone stock, we generally say we'd like to keep it about 6, at most 7 pounds of boost, right? And again, the power output's going to be greater because the compression is that much higher. But again, we are focusing on that window. So 9.5 1 compression, 15 pounds of boost, 16 pounds of boost, 17 pounds of boost, 18 pounds of boost, right? That's kind of how it goes. There are variables with timing. I can confuse people and tell you that boost will not blow a motor up, and that's going to make people's heads spin like crazy because at the end of the day, if we think about these, they're making 1,500, 2,000 PSI of compressed cylinder pressure at the time of the explosion happening, right? The spark ignition. So when you're adding, you know, 10 psi, it doesn't seem
such a
like
minor.
It seems like it, but when you understand what is actually happening, that's 10 psi of additional airflow. The actual cylinder pressure during explosion is actually amplified greatly. So that's where I say boost doesn't actually break or blow up motors. It's the combination of the boost with the timing and the effects of what that have with it, right? Because you can retard timing and help with the cylinder pressure, right? But then the problem is if you retard too far, like I said, now you're introducing part of the explosion into the exhaust, which has a negative effect as well. So, but that's why the rule of thumb is set up, because tuners like ourselves, shops, with the R&D that we put into it, the cars we've owned and everything, we learn and we have a general understanding of where it is. Some will lean on it more, some will try and see what happens from it. I don't care to do so. My personal vehicle, I'll do it just so I learn, but you know, it's one of those things we have found and know where that kind of limitation is, right? And it's all based on compression, head scan profile, you know, the power adder itself, right? I mean, that isn't necessarily understanding the horsepower output, right? Because on a Hellcat at 15 pounds of boost with the Hellcat blower, I will run 15 pounds of boost out of a turbo setup with the same bottom end, and it will make an extra 100 horsepower. Again, it's all based on the restriction of what's actually happening with the cylinder pressure and the episodes there. So, but yeah, what else? We got any more questions?
Blower spacers.
Blower spacers? So we, you know, I understand others have tested it and everything like that. I've put them on cars before and after dyno pulls, and I haven't seen any type of changes from it. I understand what the theory is behind it in regards to, you know, on an intake manifold to increase runner length and what it's going to do. And I understand they're also saying because they're plastic spacers that they separate the heat and everything. But when you have that hood closed and you're out on the street at the track and everything like that, I really haven't seen a change. I've done a ton of before and afters, and you know, I understand what others have stated and so on and so forth. But when you have a 300-degree engine bay with headers on the side and everything like that, I don't think you know, an inch spacer underneath it really has shown benefits.
Everything's hot.
Yeah,
everything. It just.
I have used IR guns too on it and everything. We use them on our turbo setups to verify intercooler flow, and even on chiller setups to verify hose routing and everything like that. So we have an IR gun that we use to test, and I've done before and afters with no changes to them. So again, I'm more limited than those that have designed it and you know, things like that. But I have guys at the track. I have dyno pulls. If I were to pull up, you know, from the thousands of dyno sheets I have, you and I aren't going to be able to go, that one has spacers, that one doesn't. Right. I really don't have any type of true proof. I do know that some have said it helped with boost leak issues and stuff like that. I will tell you, I've had compound boost setups where I've made 30 pounds of boost through them on stock intake gaskets. So in regards to boost leaks, if you take a blower off a few times, they do have failure points and weak spots in it. So I could see where in an instance like that, they do help. But again, I've had very few issues with the factory intake gaskets. They're
pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, like I said, a couple spots that aren't the greatest, but if you're careful when you put them on and you do the proper torque specs and everything, I've had no issues with them. No issues. Every single one of my cars, except for my shop car, because that had a different intake manifold. My compound boosted Red Eye, my compound boosted TRX, the other 5 Hellcats I've owned with the mods they had, all are stock intake, you know, gaskets for the manifold. So, what else we got? What's the difference between our Flex Fuel kit and the other tuners that use inferred logic? Does your tune use? Our Flex Fuel we do not do inferred logic. We talked about it a little bit in a previous video, so you can chime in for a little bit of like the difference between it. So going over inferred logic, essentially it's a very complex math equation built into the logistics of the computer, in which it relies on the O2 sensor readings to determine additional fueling, and then which it then basically guesses what the ethanol content is. Now it's used from manufacturers, you know, for decades. It's a system that's worked well, but my system that took us, 4 years plus, almost 5 years back and forth with HP tuners to get it to where it is today. We actually take an ethanol content sensor, we backfeed it into the factory PCM. So the PCM has an input from the signal, in which it then reads that and manipulates airflows, sparks, time, you know, all timing, fueling, torque readings, everything. So it is an actual ethanol content sensor that feeds back into the PCM. It's the most reliable. It is the quickest responding because it's based off a sensor that is in the fuel rail or fuel system, and it is the most accurate. It also, because of how it's designed, we have the ability to bleed boost. So for example, on our level 2 or level 3 packages where boost is too high for pump gas, we have the ability when that ethanol drops below a level, it will bleed the boost off. We still don't recommend to you know, abuse it on pump gas with this feature in place, just because we are relying on a computer and sensors to do their thing. So if there was a bypass failure, if there was a sensor failure or anything, we don't want to introduce 20 pounds of boost, you know, and have that bleed feature fail. But we have it in place for if you are on corn with a high boost application, can't find it, you still can drive the vehicle, and if you have to pass somebody, a quick hit like that will be much safer than that of like an inferred logic. Inferred logic can do timing and fuel, but it doesn't have the ability to control boost in any way, shape, or form. So we are big believers on it. You know, it's like I said, safest, most accurate. We have a ton of time and work with HP tuners on that. And it's like I said, we have a lot into it. So for those that don't know, it used to be very, very expensive. We have been able to get materials down because we do make a kit for it with harnesses and stuff like that. So we're now running around where it's, you know, as an addition to it, it's about $2,600 on top of our normal, you know, tuning and everything like that. So it used to be $4,600. So I was able to cut the cost significantly on it. So, but it works. It's safe. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of people running it right now. It is strictly right now only for the Hellcat platform or powered vehicles. We used to have it for the others, but the PCMs are limited in comparison. Yeah. So once you got beyond a stock vehicle, it didn't work as well. So, but yeah, we're sticking with that.
On that same note, so push and mushing package, we could run that true flex fuel in there, no issue. That's, you know, a killer way. That way, you know, you have the flexibility of 85, but also you're doing a long road trip, you can't find 85. Throw 93 in it, changes boost levels by itself, you know. So it's a perfect, you know, it's great for a daily.
Yeah, it's optional. The push and motion, for those that don't know, is a stock boost red-eye package with ethanol-based tuning that allows you to run 9s in the quarter miles with the tire. So you can do it designated tunes if you don't want the flex fuel, or you can. Sorry, whoever called will call you back. We're in the middle of a live, so we don't want to.
And then one last question. I'm not sure. This is more of a not a Hellcat.
Ray, what are you talking about? Your ethanol sensor is used. I'm not sure what you mean, but I know you're coming in next week, so we'll talk then. But your sensor is fed into your computer. You have a Camaro, so that's true flex fuel as well. So, what else? Any more questions?
I think that's about it.
Like I said,
Don, where'd the name Tulo come from?
Oh, yes, Tulo. Yes. Do you want to explain, or do you want me to?
Yeah. When I was hired, we had 2 Logans, and it was kind of difficult because, you know, we yell Logan, and both of us would just snap our necks. So I was the second Logan. I became Tulo, and I really have kind of grown to love the name. So I almost respond better to it than Logan because I'm just used to it.
Yeah. My wife jokes. I attract people of the same name. So you know, at the time when I had 2 Logans here, I had, you know, a Logan that was a good contact. So I had 3 Logans. So anytime I'd say Logan, Bob's, Joe, Chris, I have a lot of the same name. So especially working here type thing, had multiple Bobs, multiple Joes. So it's just one of those. It just kind of, we got to make it easier to distinguish, and that's where it came from there.
Any special announcements?
I knew you were going to pull that. Well, first, again, as a reminder, we have a lot of clothes, right?
Yes.
So, Limelight Graphics.
Steal your parents' credit card. Buy our shirts.
Parents, most of these.
Well, I mean,
anyway. So Limelight Graphics, again, is killer. He's the one that came up with the design. He's done the last few batches of our shirts and apparel. Every time he tweaks a little bit more, and he surprises me, and these came out even better than the last. We updated the quality of the hoodies and the shirts so that they're softer, they're warmer, they fit better.
Dude, I'm hot. Like, I'm hot sitting here, and I don't get hot.
Any announcements? Nothing is set in stone. The team has put some requests in, the wife has put some requests in, and racer buddies have put the requests in. So my girls miss Daddy Dinosaur Truck, and I miss an 8-second car. So if you can put that together and figure it out, maybe you guys will see. But I got a lot of vendors on board for what we kind of have in mind. So nothing's in motion. I have a car for sale. It is not the 1,500 horsepower car it was before. It is a 17 Charger Hellcat. It will have a complete red-eye swap into it with a ported blower from Kong. I will pulley it to whatever combination you want. If nobody comes forward first, I'm going to set it to about 850 wheel with our true flex fuel on it. It will have drive shaft, shop axles, drive shaft, cradle lockouts, dual pump set up in the back. Like I said, it'll make a reliable 850 high 800s to the wheel on E85 with true flex fuel capability. It's just going to have our 310 clutched upper on it.
Fun, safe street car.
Yeah, fun, safe street car. No cage in it. You know what I mean? It's still a 100% street car. It will be wrapped in that green color if you haven't seen it, because if I'm going to keep it, nobody buys it, I'm going to drive it in style. But it will be, it's a super low mile chassis. The motor has lower miles. Motor and trans have less miles on it than the chassis. It will come with the 5-spoke wheels. I'm sorry.
No!
The 5-spoke wheels, and then it also will have a full drag pack with it because nobody bought that. So it'll have a 17-inch bead-lock in the rear, D5 Ford Stars, and then the 18-inch in the front that I ran on it. So it is available. As it sits, the way I'm going to set it up, it's going to be listed. I'll probably list it for $65. So if you get to me before I complete it, I will update other things. You know, I'll make more power, put a lower on it, put a bigger throttle body, whatever the case. I just set a foundation that I wanted it reliable for whoever gets it next.
It's also a low-mile car. It's like, what, 12,000 miles at that?
12,000, yeah. It's been through a lot, but it's going to be basically a brand new car. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for one, it will be ready very soon. Like I said, if you want me to update it, we can work something out. Obviously, I have everything at my disposal. But yeah, think about that Daddy Dinosaur Truck and 8s. You figure that out.
Yeah.
If you do, throw it in the comments. We'll see. Maybe we'll throw you a shirt because we got to get rid of this stuff.
So many shirts. Buy a shirt.
Shirts. All right,
Buy
guys.
a shirt.
So thanks again for checking in. Leave in the comments what you would like to see next week. You know, we have some ideas down for subjects to cover, but if there's something you really don't know or you keep seeing on the internet you want clarity on, we'll try to pretend like we know what we're talking about and give you some answers. So, but leave questions, comments, suggestions in there. Thank you again for checking in, everybody. Hope you still like it. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Take care.
You good.